Hi, my name is Kirthi Jayakumar and I'm from Chennai, a city in South India. I'm an alumna of CTPSR, Coventry University, where I studied a blended learning program that led up to an MA in Peace and Conflict Studies. I now run an initiative called the Gender Security Project, which is based out of Chennai and works at the intersection of gender, peace and security with a focus on the Global South through reportage, research and documentation. One of the issues I'd like to speak about today is sexual violence in armed conflict. For the longest time in history, sexual violence in armed conflict was understood as nothing more than a mere byproduct in armed conflict. Something that just happened by coincidence and something that just happened everywhere, no matter where the war was situated. But in the year 2000, when Resolution 1325 was adopted by the Security Council, it was for the first time that the International Committee sat up and took notice of the fact that sexual violence in armed conflict was not a byproduct but a carefully thought after war tactic utilized and constantly put in practice to ensure that the enemies are broken. Now this came at the heels of several women and their work, both in war zones and off war zones through research. My time as a student at CTPSR helped me understand this history, helped me learn about a part of history that very few textbooks and very few discourses outside of feminist and queer theory-led literature tells you about. And in my time as a student at CTPSR, I had the opportunity to both reflect on this, to learn about this, and to produce research in the form of my dissertation and my assignments with the support of the faculty. Sexual violence in armed conflict continues unabated in several of the world's geographies, even as we speak right now. With COVID-19, these concerns have been aggravated all the more, especially because of the fact that there is a raging pandemic, governments are stretched thin in terms of providing support for communities, and feminist and sexual violence-related concerns always seem to be relegated to the second spot. Sexual violence in armed conflict has continued through this time and has been addressed by policy and lawmaking measures as well. Over the span of 20 years, since 2000 when 1325 came out, there have been 10 resolutions that have addressed various dimensions of sexual violence as it happens in places of armed conflict. But what is lacking is the general discourse that has helped understand that sexual violence and gender-based violence don't take place in isolation only in armed conflict, but actually take place across the peacetime, wartime continuum. And this was a very, very deep learning that came to me at my time as a student at CTPSR. As someone who understood sexual violence that took place during peacetime is taking place behind closed doors, it wasn't until my time as a student at CTPSR that the connection between the peacetime and wartime through a continuum was actually made. And this has made a world of a difference in the work that I do today. Because not only is gender a very significant part of the work that I deal with, but is also both a means and an ends in the lenses that I employ in my analysis, research and documentation. A future of sustained and sustainable peace is possible only when every last demographic in the community that has been wronged is given justice. Peace without justice is not sustainable. And one of the areas that have been neglected in the process of transitional justice pursuits, be that at the local level or at the international and hybrid court level, is sexual violence. Armed conflict provides an enabling environment for sexual violence to take place in great levels, and data, recording and reporting of these instances continues to remain a distant dream. With all my learning as a student at CTPSR and all the work that I've been able to do at the Gender Security Project, I hope to be able to find solutions that address this major problem that's affecting every conflict zone in the world and every peacetime reality of a gendered nature in the world.